Good morning, everyone. It's Mary Murphy, and we're here for the day that a lot of you have been waiting for, the sentencing of the 5 Trinitarios gang members that were convicted in June of killing Lesandro Jr. Guzman-Feliz. It happened on June 20th, 2018. We covered the whole trial for Pix11, and you see there are a lot of cameras here now from pretty much every station in town, trying to get the best position to see the people coming into the courtroom, which is still officially locked, but people have been lined up. The first person that I know of who came to the trial almost every day, she's been here since 4 o'clock this morning. You see some of the people online, court officers. We have not seen Junior's parents yet. They usually get escorted in right when the proceedings are about to begin. I want you to meet Bill Mueller quickly.
Hello.
Bill was with me Wednesday morning, 4:30 in the morning. We were in the Bronx in the sample section for the raids of those other Trinitarios alleged members who were arrested. There were 10 people taken into custody on Wednesday, and then another 3 were apprehended last night. So now the police are looking for 2 more people. The 15 people indicted in this new case, they're connected to the Los Sures crew, according to the NYPD and the prosecutors in Manhattan who are pursuing this new case. As you know, 2 of the people that were tied to Junior's murder are arrested in this new case. They were in court yesterday in Manhattan. One of them, Elvin Garcia, will be sentenced today for murder in the first degree. He's one of the 5 guys that was convicted on June 14th of murder 1. What we understand, they are going to be sentenced one by one. This will not be a case where all 5 of them are together with 5 defense attorneys. One by one, they will hear their fate. And from the court calendar, it seems that Jonaiki Martinez Estrella will go first. That's significant because he was convicted of really inflicting the fatal wound into Junior's neck that sliced the 15-year-old's jugular vein and that caused him to bleed out before he could get help at the emergency room. You remember from the trial testimony that Junior fled the bodega, and then he managed to walk a block where he collapsed outside the security booth and bled to death before anyone could save his life. And then he was pronounced dead inside St. Barnabas Hospital, where it turns out his mother, Guzman-Feliz, works in the intensive care unit, and she got to the hospital as he was pronounced dead. And you remember that really sad, tragic photo of her hugging him as he lay on the stretcher lifeless. Anyway, she is expected here today with Junior's father. There will be victim impact statements given by the family. And we just learned that Judge Robert Neary will only allow 1 still camera inside the courtroom. He is not allowing audio, no video. 1 still camera inside the courtroom to capture the proceedings, and we'll all have access to those still photos. So we will see the expressions of these 5 men as they hear their fate. Jonaiki Martinez, we're expecting to go first. As we reported a few weeks ago exclusively, Jose Muniz, the guy who had the machete that night, he has written a letter, and it was translated from Spanish to English, and we're told that his attorney will read that letter in open court, and supposedly he's going to explain what led up to Junior being chased all the way to that deli, which was on Bathgate Avenue and East 183rd Street. He's going to try to give context to what happened that night. So we're eager to hear what he has to say in that letter. The other defendants that will be sentenced today, Antonio Rodriguez, Hernandez, Santiago, as I mentioned, Jonaiki, Elvin Garcia, Jose Muniz, and Manuel Rivera. He was the youngest of the defendants arrested in this case. He was only 18 when he was brought into custody for Junior's murder, and you'll remember that he famously dyed his hair. It was dark brown, and he went to a hair salon the day after Junior's murder and dyed it bleach blonde. And you'll remember when he was arrested, he had these blonde curls, and now that dye has grown out in prison, and he's back to having dark hair. Anyway, these 5 guys will be in court today. I know that their attorneys tried to have the conspiracy charge dropped or dismissed by the judge, and we'll hear whether that's going to happen today. The concern from the defense attorneys was that if conspiracy remains with this murder case, that could add more jail time. it could go from maybe 20 years to life to 40 years to life, consecutive sentences. So that's something the attorneys were trying to avoid for their clients. There's also the possibility of life without parole, because this is a murder one conviction to all 5 of these guys. Regarding the raids this week, we were there. Bill Mueller and I were in the Soundview section of the Bronx. 4:30 in the morning. The raids started like clockwork around different parts of the city at 6 a.m. There were about 7 vehicles, right, Bill, that went in. 7 unmarked vehicles, and then there was a marked car. And they swooped in, and the place where we were located, that was the home of the alleged current leader of the Los Suarez set of the Trinitarios gang. And the cameraman that I was with, Bill and another guy, when they weren't bringing him out, and it was like 30 minutes, and they're like, oh, maybe he's not there. I said, I have a sense that he's there, and they're just kind of keeping him in position. They're looking at one of the lawyers coming. Let me see. I think this is Jose Muniz's lawyer. Looks like Jose Muniz's lawyer is coming. And I see you're all writing comments, life without parole, death penalty pleas. Well, New York State does not have a death penalty. So, that won't be a possibility here. Others, Jessica Diaz writing Justice for Junior. That became the mantra after this happened on June 20th, 2018, when Junior was chased from near a park in the Belmont section of the Bronx and chased at least 5 blocks. And one of the men who was driving that night, Kevin Alvarez, who became a cooperating witness in this case for the DA's office, he actually testified at trial that he tried to cut Junior off by St. Barnabas Hospital, which is where his mother works. And Junior managed to elude him, the vehicle, and then he basically cornered Junior with his vehicle near that bodega. There are people coming now, I think another lawyer. Yes, this is the lawyer, I believe, for Elvin Garcia. He's just coming in now. During the trial, there was a gag order, so the attorneys were not able to talk about this case. Defense attorneys, the prosecutors, anyone affiliated with the case was told by the judge not to talk or discuss. So no one was giving interviews during the trial, but I have to tell you that the evidence was extremely compelling. We heard so much and learned so much, especially when detectives affiliated with the gang unit took the stand and they explained how the Trinitarios gang works, that people that come in as probationary members, they're expected to go on missions for the gang and carry out orders, stabbings, assaults. The night that Junior was killed, these guys went over to the home of Diego Suero, according to the testimony. At that time, Diego Suero was said to be the leader of the Los Suarez set, and they were having a beef with another faction of the Trinitarios. That faction was the Sunset Group, and the Los Suarez made the mistake of thinking that Junior was with Sunset, and they yelled out some kind of a code, and then Junior got scared and started running, and 4 vehicles gave chase and went after him for at least 5 blocks, and Junior ran so hard that he lost one of his sandals. It was found in the middle of the street about a block and a half from where the chase started. So he was in his socks by the time he got to that bodega, the Cruz and Chicky bodega on Bathgate Avenue and East 183rd. And you just remember that footage, how tragic it is, of him jumping over the counter, surprising the owner who was there at the cash register, and the owner finally let him stay behind the counter, and it looked like Junior was hiding under a sink. And then a bunch of gang members stormed in, including 2 that later became cooperating witnesses, Kevin Alvarez and Michael Sosa Reyes. And Alvarez and another guy were demanding that Junior be released from the back, and then there was a little partition, and they managed to get it open, and Alvarez admits that he kicked and punched Junior and was able to drag him out. Anna Diaz saying, I miss you like crazy, Junior, forever 15. Jessica Sleeman, finally Junior will rest in peace. Crystal Lee Berrios writing, life without parole for all of them, justice for Junior. Norma Thompson, watching from Kingston, Jamaica, justice for Junior. I've told you this before. so many times that people were writing to me from around the world about this case, from South Africa, from Australia, from New Zealand, from Paris, from Amsterdam. What happened to Junior, especially the seeming apathy after he had already been stabbed and he ran back a second time into the bodega and had such a gaping wound in his neck and he was bleeding and he sought help, and basically you saw them pointing, one of the customers and a couple of the workers pointing to the hospital a block away. And apparently there was a 911 call made, but the ambulance never came fast enough. So Junior, with that horrible wound, walked for a block to 3rd Avenue, where the hospital is located, and he never made it to the emergency room. He just collapsed on the floor by the security booth. Elizabeth Delgado writing, "Thanks, Mary." Tricia Hartman watching from Toronto, Canada. And to Neil Santiago, "Please don't repeat what happened. It kills me." I guess she's talking about the circumstances. We're not showing the video. I mean, most stations have stopped showing the most gruesome parts of that video a long time ago. So many of you are eager to find out what will happen here today. But as I mentioned earlier, the judge is not allowing live video in the courtroom. We'll have a still camera capturing the expressions of each defendant as he learns his fate. And we understand they will go one by one. It won't be all 5 together. And first, we're expecting Jonaiki. He's the one who inflicted the lethal wound into Junior's neck. I mean, things could always change based on security issues or whether one of them gets delayed in being brought here. When we were doing this trial, it would always start so late, even though court was supposed to open at 9:30 or 10 every morning. I'd say we were lucky many times if we started before noon, because they had to wait for all 5 guys to be brought, and they had to be moved separately by the Department of Corrections and the security officers here at court. And so that took forever. So many days we never heard testimony until 12 noon. And then there would be a lunch break, and then we'd resume in the afternoon. The trial was about 6 weeks long, and the verdict came on June 14th. And all 5 were convicted of all the charges that had been leveled against them. Murder 1, murder 2, gang conspiracy, assault, weapons possession. And so you'll see here now the people waiting to get in, and all the crews that are here.
No, but they're going to do it one at a time, so that because they have different charges.
Just giving you a sense of us. We're all waiting in the press pen. You know, we're not allowed to go into the courtroom until the judge is about to take the bench. This trial, the jury consisted of 11 women and only 1 man. And it didn't take them very long to convict. They got the case on one afternoon, and then on a Friday, June 14th, they convicted on all counts. After not that much deliberation time, I'd say it was no more than 8 hours. So you see there's a lot of media here today waiting to capture what happens inside that courtroom. Judge Robert Neary is going to decide the fate of these 5 men. Regarding the other case that we covered this week with the raids, which started in the Bronx and also happened in other parts of the city in Queens and Upper Manhattan. Those guys that were arrested for this new case involving the Losori set, they were arraigned in Manhattan Supreme Court yesterday, Thursday. And included in that number, Diego Suero, who's facing an upcoming trial here in the Bronx, charged with murder in the 2nd degree, murder conspiracy for ordering that a rival be at least assaulted, if not killed, according to the testimony we've heard so far in the first case. And the other guy that you're familiar with, Elvin Garcia, he was also accused in this case from Upper Manhattan, which involves alleged stabbings and assaults from 2017 against another rival group, DEB. So Elvin Garcia is going to hear his fate today, but he's also facing this other case in Manhattan. And in terms of the follow-up trials to Junior's case, 2 men are supposed to start trial in just about another week or so. Diego Suero and Frederick Fenn, who is another top alleged leader of Los Sores. They're going on trial in the 2nd trial in this case. And then there are 6 other guys, and probably it will be 2020 before we see them at trial. And I know that after the first convictions, the prosecutor said she was open to discussions for them to plead guilty, these other guys, to manslaughter in the first degree, which carries a penalty of anywhere from 12 to 25 years in prison. So it's unclear whether anyone will take that deal. I know a lot of people were talking about the deals that the cooperating witnesses got, Kevin Alvarez and Michael Sosa Reyes. Kevin Alvarez, who was seen very graphically punching Junior and kicking him and dragging him out of that bodega to his fate. Well, his deal is he pleaded guilty to manslaughter in the first degree. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy. But if he satisfies the prosecution needs and testifies truthfully at multiple trials, he will have the manslaughter one case dismissed, and he'll have just a conspiracy conviction on his record. Meanwhile, Michael Sosa Reyes, who was seen storming into the bodega very defiantly, and who testified that he was lying and telling the owner at the deli that Junior had hurt his grandmother, or they were saying all these nasty things about Junior. Michael Sosa Reyes, he pleaded guilty to manslaughter 1 and conspiracy, but if he satisfies his deal with the prosecution, he'll have all his charges thrown out. He won't have a manslaughter conviction on his record or conspiracy. He famously, went home to the Dominican Republic after Junior was killed, and then his mother told him he had to come back to New York, so he turned himself into police in the early hours of Saturday, June 23rd, 2018. We're hearing that we're going to see if other people are coming now, and I'm looking at some more of your comments. We love you, Junior, from San Antonio, Texas. That's Alagracia Grace Garcia. Thank you for writing. Thank you for watching. Margarita Isabel Martinez Jr. didn't get a deal. Vilma Rodriguez. Justicia Paragunya from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, me too. And I saw her first. And I thought that she was like one of the first people.
I'll show you the cameramen that are waiting
We
here.
already got this guy.
Is this another one?
Yeah, we already got him.
We got him. Which lawyer is this?
We have another lawyer coming back, but I think he already had stopped in the courtroom. I have to see. It might be Mr. Goldberg. That's Mr. Goldberg. Jose Muniz's attorney just went into the courtroom, and as I mentioned earlier, he is planning to read a letter that Jose Muniz wrote, claiming to put a perspective on what happened that night with Junior. And, the attorney had told me, Mr. Goldberg, several weeks ago, that the narrative surrounding this case was not totally accurate. And he said the media contributed to the frenzy, and the media continued to a narrative that wasn't quite accurate about all the circumstances leading up to his murder. He did add, though, his murder was certainly not justified. But anyway, we're very interested to hear in court what Jose Muniz is going to say in that letter, which was translated from Spanish to English. It's not clear how soon this will start because we're used to delays in this case. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the women here that's hoping to get in the courtroom, and she's first online, so she'll probably get in. She was here since 4 o'clock this morning. So that's someone who's really invested in this case.
That would be a good idea. Sutton really like that.
So we're expecting many, many court officers to be here today. During the testimony, we used to see at least 8 court officers ringing the courtroom, and then there would be several outside, but I guarantee you today we'll see many more. They have a roaming team of court officers that are specially trained that go from courthouse to courthouse depending on what case is going on. And so I expect that that special team will be here today. Some of them carrying weaponry and wearing bulletproof vests. This is a highly sensitive case. The security measures are pretty intense. And try to give you as much of a sense of what's going on here as I can.
From a story, yeah.
I'm going to read some more of your comments. Rosemary Jimenez, they're all guilty of being part of what happened. Yvonne Carabella, they're all guilty. They were all caught on video. Rosa Alicea, no death penalty in New York, which we had pointed out before. Shanna Fisher is writing. Rosemary Lewis, anything less than life is unacceptable. Eileen Chulis, her message went by very fast. Margarita Esqueda, good morning, Mrs. Mary. Thank you for keeping us updated on the trial. They're asking if I'll be live in the courtroom. Well, I will be in the courtroom, but the judge is not allowing any live cameras in the courtroom. He didn't allow that during the trial, and he's not allowing that today. We'll have a still camera in there. A newspaper cameraman will be representing all of us in terms of getting a visual. So you will get to see the expressions on the faces of these 5 men when they're sentenced, one by one. You won't hear any audio. You'll have to rely on me and the other reporters to give you a sense of what went on. And that's what we did the entire trial. Basically, we did our best to capture the mood inside the courtroom. The most important testimony, and we wrote a lot on Pix11.com about that. Multiple stories sometimes in a given day, depending on the number of witnesses. So there was a lot of very valuable testimony at this trial, very interesting, and so we will capture the essence of what's happening in that courtroom for you, and what's happening in this hallway when the major players come. But we're only allowed still photography, one still photographer in the courtroom, and then of course all of us will be there taking notes, and we're going to come out and update you as we're allowed to after each sentencing. Sometimes they're strict about going in and out of the courtroom, so we're hoping that we can get out after each man is sentenced and then quickly get back in. Okay, it says, why are the cameras not allowed? I mean, I can only surmise the reason they don't want cameras is they think that it may be prejudicial to the other men that are still facing trial. And the other possibility is, after the verdict, Jose Luis yelled out in court, hasta la muerte, till death. And that was supposed to be like this big slogan showing his loyalty to the Trinitarios gang. So it's possible the judge doesn't want any of that captured on camera. So that's just my sense of why cameras may not be allowed. But no audio, no cameras were allowed in during the entire trial. So you had to rely on us to recap what happened inside that courtroom. And I think we gave you a very good sense of what was going on day to day. Pix11 covered this trial every single day. We even covered the pre-trial hearings, which normally doesn't happen. But I knew that sometimes important information comes out at pre-trial hearings. When defense attorneys are trying to keep out certain evidence and trying to argue that it's too prejudicial or that it shouldn't be allowed, well, we learned stuff at the pre-trial hearing, which was valuable, and we reported a lot in those 2 weeks of pre-trial hearings. So it's important to be here for a case like this, even before the trial officially starts, because you do learn some information. Let me give you a sense again of how the crowd is here.
I've never seen that.
We have one man who's standing. He has a little ladder to stand on because he wants to get the best visuals he can, because it's so crowded here inside this press pen that it's hard to get a clear shot sometimes, but we got here really early, right, Bill? We got here really early.
Yeah.
So we have a good spot to see what's going on. Otherwise, you need a ladder. You see on the... I want you to see the jackets here. It's Special Response Team. That's the name of the specially trained court officers that go from courthouse to courthouse depending on what case is in a specific court. And of course the junior case is high profile. So now you see there are a lot of guys outside the courtroom, a lot of these officers. I'm answering your questions. Thank you, Mary, for keeping us in touch with this case. I feel for Junior's parents facing these 5 killers. We're expecting that Junior's mother will make a victim impact statement. That's very common in trials, especially murder cases. So she had told me she was preparing something. You may remember that near the end of the trial, she was banned from the courtroom because she had an outburst during the cross-examination of Michael Sosa Reyes. She thought he was trying to whitewash one of his friends that was in the car with him that night and make it sound like that friend was not a member of the Trinitarios. She got very upset about that because she didn't want this friend of his to escape responsibility for being on the scene that night. Anyway, she was banned near the end of the trial, and then she just made a decision that she would watch the end of the case from a separate courtroom. It was on the 6th floor, I believe, and she actually heard the verdict on a monitor. She wasn't even in the courtroom when the verdict was rendered. But I believe she will be in this courtroom today and face the killers when she makes her victim impact statement. So that would be something to see, and I'll do my best to really give you a sense of what that was like when it happens. But what I'm curious about is, will she make 5 separate statements for each of these men instead of one by one? That's something I'm interested to see. I'm going to show you the crowd again. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. I think we might get back up. Mary's going back up.
Yeah, the station. Coming hot at 5.
I gotta let you know.
4,
Give you a heads up.
3, 2, 1.
Now I made it close for the camera. I don't know if I can go back to a wide shot. I don't know how to get back to a wide shot on the camera. Anyone know how to go back to a wide shot on this?
I'm not sure about it
Yeah.
too much, Mary. What's the Facebook? It's a Facebook.
It's Facebook. I'm trying to go back to a wide shot.
You know how to do white shot?
No, it was on a wide shot, and I zoomed it in. Oh, I think I got it out. I got it out again. Yeah, the close-up was a little bit much. But anyway, this could take a while before the sentence. Yeah, I got it out. Could take a while. Let me look. Deirdre Joy Dorsey, Justice for Junior, life, no parole. If not, they'll do it again. A lot of you putting the prayer emojis and the hearts, thanking us for sharing. Kevin George saying all should get life or a machete. Well, we won't finish that statement, but Leslie Moore thanking us for staying with this. A lot of you are glad that we're sharing the scene here in the courthouse. You're looking at the courtroom where this is all going to take place, but, you know, they're obviously not ready to proceed yet. And we're not surprised at that because the whole trial was marked by delays. Because of security issues, there were times that some of the defendants got sick. One of them had a seizure disorder, so if one of them was sick, sometimes they had to cancel testimony for the day. There was a time that another defendant had an outburst, and we weren't sure if the trial would proceed, but he ended up leaving, but his lawyer stayed, and so the testimony resumed. I'm going to give you a sense of the security again. Sorry.
If you bump into me and you knock my camera into the desk, I'm going to be very mad.
Okay. All right.
Because you
sorry.
jump into me and that's not cool.
I'm sorry. All right, I'll stay away from you.
No, I just...
It's okay.
You're
One of the
bumping the
camera-
guy that's...
I
You're
understand.
being very dangerous.
All right. One of the photographers was upset I bumped into him, so I have to be careful. just showing you some of the officers from the special response team who are waiting for us to be allowed into court. And that could take a very long time because that's sort of traditionally what's happened with this case. We would often wait 2 hours just to go into court for the testimony to begin. Now today we're waiting for the sentencing. And these 5 men that are facing sentencing should face life without parole. Their names once again: Jonaiki Martinez Estrella, Manuel Rivera, Elvin Garcia, Jose Muniz, and Antonio Rodriguez Hernandez Santiago. He has a long name, so people are still writing. We have a lot of you watching. They're saying thank you. One of you was joking about tell that photographer to, one of the guys, when I bumped into him, wasn't happy. He doesn't want to have his camera get messed up. I understand that. So was it Sonia Navarro saying, tell the photographer he's not the only one covering the case. Actually, I've never really seen him here before, so, and I've been here. But I have to be careful. I don't want to mess up anyone's equipment. I'm trying to figure out if I should stay on. I mean, so many of you are watching. I can't guarantee you when the courtroom is going to open. I'm getting a hello from Joe Vasquez in San Antonio, Texas. Thank you, Joe, for watching. We appreciate it. And Angie Cedeno was saying, what time will the sentencing begin? I wish I could tell you. I mean, the time was set for court for 9:30. But some of these defendants were kept quite far away from the city. Not all of them were in city jails over the last 16 months. From what I understand, one of them was taken as far away as Albany to be lodged. I mean, that's 2.5, 3 hours away, drive time. So it's unclear how close they were to the city. They all have to be driven here in different vehicles. As you know, I know you were very frustrated by the fact that this sentencing was delayed 3 different times. The initial sentencing was scheduled for July 16th. But the defense attorneys were filing motions, and they were trying to get murder in the first degree dismissed by the judge, making arguments that the elements of torture were not really proven. And so after they made those motions, the prosecution wanted to respond. So that took a while, and then Judge Neary ultimately ruled against dismissing that murder of 1 count. And then after that, a couple of weeks before the second sentencing was scheduled, there were more motions that were filed asking for the conspiracy charge to be thrown out, and then the prosecution had to respond to that as well. So there were 3 different delays, and now it looks like it will happen today, because usually the delays, we would be notified about that at least a day or 2 in advance, and there was no notification, and you see so many people are here today, so it looks like it's going to happen. We have someone writing, okay, Karen is writing from Palm Beach, Florida. Margarita is saying, please stay on. Leslie Moore said, are they coming through that hallway, or are they there? They usually come in through a door in the courtroom. There are jail cells behind the courtroom, and there's an underground garage where the buses bring them in from the various jails. So it's unlikely you will see them in the hallway. But you will see Junior's parents at some point coming in, but they usually come in at the last second, right before the proceedings are about to begin, and they're escorted usually by detectives from the NYPD and also a victim's advocate who works for the Bronx DA's office. A lot of things have happened since the conviction on June 14th. A couple of the guys got in trouble in jail, accused of assaulting correction officers. And one of the stories that I reported on that I thought was quite significant, Manuel Rivera, who was only 18 when he was arrested, he was taken to a hospital because I was told that he overdosed on a bad batch of K2. That's synthetic marijuana. It's really not marijuana. It's sort of like potpourri or plant leaves that are sprayed with a chemical that's usually made in China and then shipped over here to the United States by mail or other means. So Manuel Rivera, they were having a hard time. His family was having a hard time, and his defense attorney finding out what exactly had happened. But we learned about a day after he went to the hospital that he had overdosed, had a really bad reaction to a bad batch of K2, which is a problem in the prison system, not only in New York, but around the country. There were a number of inmates in Florida who had died from using K2 in the last couple of years. There was a big problem in Pennsylvania. At one point, all of the state prisons were on lockdown. I see them now putting their cameras up. There are some more people coming, and I'll just, see who it is, and I'll let you know as soon as they come by. They're in the distance in the hallway. Is that the DA?
DA, yeah.
It looks like the Bronx. Yes, it looks like the Bronx DA Darcel Clark is about to enter the courtroom.
Thank you.
The district attorney of the Bronx, Darcel Clark, just entered the courtroom. It was her office that prosecuted this case. The assistant district attorney who oversaw all the proceedings, Morgan Dolan, she's the one who did the opening and closing statements, and she had another assistant working with her who handled a lot of the DNA evidence, the forensic testimony. So it's interesting that the DA, Darcel Clark, just walked in. That might indicate that we're close to having the proceedings start. Because usually the more prominent people that come at the last second, that sort of indicates that maybe the judge might be about to take the bench. We can only hope and speculate. We have not seen Junior's mother and father. They are normally the last people brought into the courtroom. The spectators who want to witness this, they're still online, and they will have to go through metal detectors before they go in the courtroom. As you know, there are metal detectors when we come into the building. That's normal, but then we also have metal detectors right outside the courtroom that the spectators have to go through a second round of security checks before they go into court. And it was like that for the whole trial. Leslie Moore is saying, stay with us, please. Rubita Colocha, prayers, justice is coming. Okay. You're looking at the courtroom now, Judge Neary's courtroom. The DA of the Bronx, Darcel Clark, just went in with her communications director, Patrice O'Shaughnessy. So, we're hoping that that's a sign that things could be closer to starting. You see a lot of court officers outside the courtroom. We have officers from the special response team. They're specially trained to deal with these high-profile cases. And in this case, you're talking about Trinitarios gang members, convicted gang members, actually convicted now with murder in the first degree, gang conspiracy, assault, and weapons possession. Some of the defense attorneys tried arguing during the trial that all of these guys were not equally culpable. Jose Muniz's attorney said, he got a lot of bad press because he was carrying a machete, but he argued to the jury that Jose Muniz kept the blade flat during this assault on Junior, and that some of the other guys that were under orders to get a rival, that they tried to give very superficial wounds, although the video shows it looked like a frenzy, the attack. But anyway, Jose Muniz's lawyer had argued that his client kept the blade flat on the machete and did not inflict significant damage at all on Junior, and that it was really only one person who did that, and that was Jonaiki Martinez Estrella, who inflicted that lethal neck wound that sliced Junior's jugular vein. So we're looking to see who comes next. The DA, Darcel Clark, has just entered the courtroom with her communications director, Patrice O'Shaughnessy. And O'Shaughnessy told us repeatedly throughout the trial there could be no comment from the DA's office because of the gag order that was imposed on the players in this case by Judge Robert Neary. So I'm reading some other comments. Altagracia, Grace, Garcia. I have goosebumps on my arms and I'm in fear or tears. Like Jay, they kill him in public, but they don't want to be on camera for the public. Maria Barajas, wow, it's loud in there. Nicole Farrell, I hope that the junior supporters don't try to cut the line in order to get inside the courtroom like they did during the trial. Okay. Leslie Moore is still writing. He's watching from upstate New York. Margaret Rollins praying for Junior's family. Nicole Rivera, why are they making Junior's mom suffer? Margarita is writing, they were on a hunt. Erica Tirado, thank you for being here, Mary. No, of course, I followed the case from the beginning. I wanted to be here for the resolution to see what the outcome will be, and I know so many of you are waiting for that too. We have a lot of you watching. Case that really moved people around the world. I think people that live in New York, what was really disturbing to us was just the viciousness of the gang violence that was captured on video. But people around the world who wrote to me, they seemed more troubled by the lack of response from people inside the bodega and even outside. The lack of help that Junior seemed to receive, the lack of empathy, that really bothered people. And I think that's why this case kind of went viral around the world, because people could not believe what they were seeing on camera. I'm going to show you the officers again. All right, Angie Roca, watching from Las Vegas. Thank you, Mary, for keeping us up to date. Another viewer saying that they're in tears. Jennifer Figueroa, let this be done. Let his mother get justice and peace. Bronx, New York here. That's Del Quan. Thank you, Del Quan. Nicole Farrell, I used to go to the courthouse for the trial, but I stopped going. Maria Rueda, patiently waiting for the trials to start. Yeah, well, it's actually the sentencing today that we're all waiting for. As I mentioned about 10 minutes ago, the Bronx District Attorney Darcel Clark went into the courtroom with her communications director, Patrice O'Shaughnessy. We have not seen the assistant district attorney who was in charge of the whole case day to day, Morgan Dolan, but she may have already gotten here very early to prepare her notes. We're just looking out for Junior's family and any other player involved with this case. That's the courtroom, Part 70, Judge Robert Neary. He is a no-nonsense judge. I actually think he was fair to both sides in the trial. He listened to arguments, there were sidebars, and so I'll be interested personally in hearing what he has to say today before he gives out his sentence to each of the 5 men convicted of murder in the first degree. Carmela Pinella's writing, I've been crying from the first day. Michelle Johnson, I lived down the block, and on my way home to see the aftermath by the hospital that day was so traumatic. I mean, there were cell phone videos out there that showed the horror of what Junior went through. I mean, very bloody, graphic videos. I mean, we've never shown them on the air, but it showed what this 15-year-old went through. He was just getting out of his sophomore year in high school. He went to Dr. Richard Izquierdo High School. He wore a maroon uniform that looked like hospital scrubs. And one of his last pictures taken in high school had him in his maroon scrubs, smiling, so full of hope for the future. And, they started a special program, an annual program at his school called Hoops for Junior, and that was their way of paying homage to him. Dr. G, Mr. G, was one of the deans at the school, and he was very fond of Junior. And said just everyone liked him, and he was respectful to the teachers, and they felt he would have done well in life. All right, looking at some more notes here. Michelle Harris Davis, Life for All, Damari Vargas, watching from Texas. What's that? I'm sorry, what happened?
You guys figure out who's going inside?
I thought you mean for the cameras? Well, I thought the people that covered the trial would be going in. How many people are they allowing? You're going up over there? Okay. Now we're being told how many people are going in the courtroom, so we have our press credentials, and hopefully the people that covered the trial will be going in. Should I start standing up? Should I start standing on line? Nobody's. I asked if I should. I know. I asked if I should stand on line. We are getting a question. Where's Junior's parents? Well, they're not here yet. They typically are escorted in at the last minute, right before any proceeding starts. Mefeliz and Lesandro Guzman, those are Junior's parents. And they came so much during the trial, and if one of them had to work, the other one would be here. There was always a family representative here every day of the trial. Okay, I'm looking at your notes again. What's happening? They're asking, well, the court officer asked us if we were going to be getting online or which reporters were going in, but we have our credentials. So I'm waiting to see when we're allowed to get online. Right now we're in a press pen. I'll show it to you. Is something happening? I'm not sure if other people are coming down the hall now. We're going to be on the lookout.
Is she coming down?
Is that the mom?
Officer!
Is the mom coming? We're hearing that the family may be coming, but just keep on the lookout. She's next to the advocate. She has black on. Junior's mother's about to enter the courtroom. And Junior's father, they just are going in the courtroom now. The proceedings are about to start, so I will have to go in the courtroom, and I will get back to you as soon as we're allowed out to report on what the sentences are. Please stay with Pix11.com and Pix11 Facebook. Thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Mary Murphy, and I've just come out of the courtroom. Two of the defendants that you were most familiar with in the Junior case just got sentenced, and they got different sentences. And I want to start with Jose Muniz. He went second, but he revealed information in a letter that he had written, and he read it in open court, and he revealed the motive, the gang's motive for what happened to Junior. And he said it was not about a girl, it wasn't about a video, and we reported that a long time ago. He said it was because he claims that Junior was at the scene when one of his friends was shot in the eye 2 nights before Junior was stabbed outside the bodega. Jose Muniz in open court before the judge sentenced him, revealing the motive for why Junior was stabbed so viciously by that gang from Los Sores. Anyway, also, he got 25 years to life. I'm sorry. All right, I'm told that I have to go outside. Jonaiki got life without parole. He was called the executioner. And Jose Muniz got 25 to life. And I have to stop now.
Lo que hicieron, ellos son banqueros, ellos andan atacando personas inocentes, pagando, haciendo cosas que no lo hace una persona normal. Nosotros no decidimos el destino de nadie, ellos mismos hicieron su propio destino. No, porque mi hijo nunca va a regresar de la tumba, mi hijo nunca va a venir de la tumba, yo no tengo a mi hijo para atrás. Por lo menos sus madres de ellos van a tener sus hijos en la cárcel, los van a poder ver, tocar y hablar con ellos. Yo no puedo ver el mío ni tocarlo. No, no hay ningún arrepentimiento ninguno, eso es mentira. Si se hubieran arrepentido no fueran gangueros de la calle, asesinos, abusadores. Porque si ellos se mataran entre ellos, lo que le hacen algo a ellos mismos, pero atacando personas inocentes, abusando, 15 para 1.
Mr. Hernandez Santiago's mother.
Que miren el ejemplo que están pasando ahora los asesinos de Junior, que le tocó por ser miembro de pandillas. Le tocó ahora permanecer en prisión por vida. Eso es lo que van a conseguir los gangueros en la calle, porque nada más les tocan 2 caminos, cárcel o muerte.
Miss Feliz, please. What do you think of Antonio's mother yelling and screaming and saying, I hate Junior? She left the courtroom when her son got life in prison, 25 to life.
Thank you for letting me know what he said. What she said. I didn't hear clear what she said. I was inside, but my.
She said that her son did not kill Junior.
He said her son did not kill Junior.
They all killed him because they all were together. They're planning to go outside to kill innocent people. And my son is the death one. I'm never gonna have my son back. They got what they deserve. They got what they deserve.
Now, Mr.
Yo nunca voy a tener mi hijo para atrás. Ellos se buscaron lo que se ganaron por su decisión de salir a matar inocente a la calle. No tengo idea. Yo perdí mi hijo y lo único que quisiera yo es tener mi hijo conmigo. Tener mi hijo es todo y nada de esto estuviera sucediendo. Yo no pedí nada de lo que está pasando.
Junior's father, he said it was tough for him on the weekends. Weekends are very tough for you because you used to spend time with your son. Was it very hard for you to face those weekends and make mistakes?
Yeah, always we there, we hang around, we hang, you know, that's the bad day, the weekend. That's what I'm so sad in the weekend, you know. When we go to play songs, to play baseball, or somewhere, to go to car wash, to wash my car, to barber shop, you know, that's the day exactly we go together, you know. That's what I'm sad in the weekend. Claro que sí, gracias a Dios y le doy muchas gracias a todos ustedes, a la fiscalía, a los policías, a todos, que por lo menos se hizo justicia hoy y esos 5 individuos van a pagar de verdad por lo que hicieron y ya lamentablemente ya de ahí ya no van a poder salir. Ya por lo menos por esa parte de ellos vamos a tener un poco más de tranquilidad con esos 5. Muchas gracias.
Esperanza, que van a pagar con lo que hicieron, son gangueros y necesitamos tener una ciudad segura. We need to have a safe city. They need to clean and make the citizens safe in the Bronx, in New York. Thank you.
I want to say something real quick, guys. Voy a decir algo rápidamente. Manny Ortiz. Esto no es un triunfo de la familia Félix y no es un triunfo de la familia Guzmán. Esto es un triunfo de todos y de todas que se sintieron identificados con este caso y nos dieron apoyo a la familia. Todos ganamos y ellos van a pagar sus consecuencias. Gracias. Thank you.
In English?
Oh, this is not baby. So, my name is Manny Ortiz, and this is a case not just for the family, it's because you can't know. Hey, and I hope that reason. Ellos van a morir ahora. Gracias.
Thank you. Could you say your name in the...
My name is Manny Ortiz. I'm Junior's older brother.
Spell it.
MANNYORTIZ. You're welcome.
Okay. Please talk loud. Please talk as loud as you can.
Spanish first?
English first.
English first, please.
Okay, no, hi. I want to say thank you very much for all of you being here and everybody be pending for the sentences. I want to say they have what they deserve. They abused their child, 50 years old kid, innocent kid. It was no gang member. It was a good kid. Now they have to pay the consequence for what they did. That's what they did. They was in gang related in gang. Now, what the consequence that they have to pay. They have to pay for what they did.
All right. Can you please? Is it working?
Yes.
My son was gonna come back. I won't gonna have my son back anymore. I do not send any for that. Because the only thing I want is my son back. That's all what I want.
Miss Feliz.
That's not never been happening in life. I would like to have my son with me, and everything will be good.
Hey, Miss Feliz.
They did that.
Jose Muniz said the reason that Junior was killed was because he was on the scene 2 nights before when this kid was shot in the eye. And he said Junior may not have been a gang member, but he was there when my friend was shot. He said that's the reason they went after Junior.
That's what he said. I wasn't there. I don't know where he was. I don't know when that happened. I don't know what he's talking about. This is not my problem.
You cannot give credit to a criminal, which he was found guilty, so that has no credibility at all.
My son was a good kid, and my son was on the product program at the time when the tragedy happened. My son never did nothing to anyone. He was innocent kid, what they all abused an innocent child. 15 men for one child.
Are you satisfied with the sentences? Only one of them got life without parole.
They have what they deserve. They are paying now the consequence what they did. Sí, estoy conforme con lo que le dieron, porque ellos hicieron lo que hicieron. Ellos son gangueros. Ellos andan atacando personas inocentes, pagando, haciendo cosas que no lo hace una persona normal. Nosotros no decidimos el destino de nadie. Ellos mismos hicieron su propio destino.
Okay, Miss Feliz.
No, porque mi hijo nunca va a regresar de la tumba. Mi hijo nunca va a venir de la tumba. Yo no tengo a mi hijo por atrás. Por lo menos sus madres de ellos van a tener sus hijos en la cárcel. Los van a poder ver, tocar y hablar con ellos. Yo no puedo ver el mío ni tocarlo.
Miss Feliz, could you?
No hay ningún arrepentimiento de ninguno. Eso es mentira. Si se hubieran arrepentido no fueran gangueros de la calle, asesinos, abusadores. Porque si ellos se mataran entre ellos, lo que le hacen algo a ellos mismos, pero atacando personas inocentes, abusando, 15 para 1.
Miss
You
Feliz,
accept
what did
their
you think of
apology.
What did you think of Mr. Hernandez Santiago's mother?
Que miren el ejemplo que están pasando ahora los asesinos de Junior, que le tocó por ser miembro de pandillas. Le tocó ahora para permanecer en prisión por vida. Eso es lo que van a conseguir los gangueros de la calle, porque nada más les tocan 2 caminos, cárcel o muerte.
Miss Feliz, in English, please. What do you think of Antonio's mother yelling and screaming and saying, "I hate Junior," and she left the courtroom when her son got life in prison, 25 to life?
Thank you for letting me know what he said and what she said. I didn't hear clear what she said. I was inside.
What did she
But
say?
She said that her son did not kill Junior.
She said her son did not kill Junior.
They all killed him because they all were together. They're planning to go outside to kill innocent people. And my son is the dead one. I'm never gonna have my son back. They got what they deserve. They got what they deserve.
They didn't get life without parole. Now, Mr. Guzman.
Yo nunca voy a tener mi hijo para atrás. Ellos se buscaron lo que se ganaron por su decisión de salir a matar inocente a la calle.
Can you get a close-up of the father? Mr. Guzman.
No tengo idea. Yo perdí mi hijo y lo único que quisiera yo es tener mi hijo conmigo. Tener mi hijo es todo y nada de Yo no sé nada de lo que está pasando.
Junior's father, he said it was tough for him on the weekends. Weekends are very tough for you because you used to spend time with your son. Was it very hard for him to face those men and make his statement? Was it tough?
Always we did, we hang around, we hang, you know, that's the bad day, the weekend. That's what I'm so sad in the weekend, you know. When we go to play songs, to play baseball, somewhere to go to car wash, to wash my car, to barber shop, you know, that's the day something we go together, you know. That's what I'm sad in the weekend. Claro que sí, gracias a Dios y le doy muchas gracias a todos ustedes, a la fiscalía, a los policías, a todos, que por lo menos se hizo justicia hoy y esos 5 individuos van a pagar de verdad por lo que hicieron y ya lamentablemente ya de ahí ya no van a poder salir. Ya por lo menos por esa parte de ellos vamos a tener un poco más de tranquilidad con esos 5. Muchas gracias.
Did you get justice today? Sir, did you get justice today?